Hi guys, welcome to another whiskey tasting episode. Today I selected for you a bottle coming from one of my very best favorite distillery, and I'm talking about the Chichibu one. Well, you have to know, Chichibu distillery, as we mentioned in episode 5, is owned by one of the most famous names in the whiskey world, and I'm talking about Mr. Ichiro Akuto. Before starting reviewing, I want to make a little step back and talk you more about Mr. Akuto. You have to know, he comes from a family with a long-lasting tradition of alcoholic beverages making. Around we're talking about 500 years of sake and also shochu production. The family began producing whiskey around the 1980s with the founding of the Enu distillery. You have to know, as I mentioned, these were tough years for Japanese whiskey distilleries, and the distillery closed after less than 20 years. Luckily, Mr. Akuto was already looking forward. Indeed, he saved a bulk of oaks coming from the Enu distilleries and starting making some releases at the beginning of the 21st century. Well, some releases are very famous, but I think that the most representative is the Ichiro's Malt card series that we mentioned before in episode 5, and I'm talking about 54 bottles divided into the poker series, the poker run of hearts, diamonds, clubs and spades, and of course also the jokers. The higher the card number, the more the whiskey inside has been matured. These are really collectible items. Just think that during the 2015 Bonham's auction in Hong Kong, a complete set of 54 bottles has been sold for 3.8 million of Hong Kong dollar, and again in 2019 a complete set for around 7.2 million Hong Kong dollars. I'm talking about more or less 920,000 US dollars, so a really collectible item. However, guys, the love of Mr. Akuto for whiskies didn't end just there. Indeed, in 2008 he founded his own distilleries. I'm talking about, of course, Chichibu. You have to know, Chichibu nowadays is still reduced in dimensions, and a lot of the work is performed manually. Indeed, Mr. Akuto and his collaborators are quite unwilling to use the technology into the whiskey making process. However, they are able to produce a wide variety of malts that Mr. Akuto blends carefully with whiskey selected all over the world. As always, here you can see some of the products of the distillery we're talking about, of Chichibu. And as you can see, I covered them with a cling film, and I did this because I'm of course in the cellar, so with a high level of humidity, and I advise you to do the same if you are jealously conserving your bottles downstairs, especially in a humid environment. So, starting from the very first, here we have the Ichiro's Molten Grain. Let me say, the little NAS of the Chichibu family that we are going to review today. Then we have the Ichiro's Molten Grain limited edition released in 2018. Then we have the Mizunara, the very famous Mizunara Wood Reserve. Then we pass to the Chichibu IPA Cask Finish 2017, and we arrive to the Chichibu Paris Limited Edition 2019. But guys, Chichibu variety is even wider. There are many different releases. And you have to know, I love Chichibu whiskey because generally speaking, the ABV is higher compared to the average. And I love it because the whiskey inside is less diluted and let you appreciate the soul of the spirit. Here we are, guys. So we have the Ichiro's Malt and Grained, and this is a blended whiskey. As I told you in episode 2, blended whiskey means a blend of malt whiskey and grain whiskey. In this case, the Chichibu released this version, which is, as they said in the label, a wort blended whiskey. Indeed, this is a whiskey with an ABV of 46.5, and this is a blend of whiskey coming from the Chichibu distillery, but also distilleries coming from Ireland, Scotland, Canada, and also US. If you are in front of your bottle, guys, there are two things I want to bring you to your attention. So, there is written on the label non-colored. Well, as we said in episode 1, non-colored means that there's no added caramel in order to make the whiskey becoming darker, so it is naturally colored. Second thing, there's written non-chill filtered. Well, the chill filtering method consists of taking the whiskey and put it at a low temperature, generally speaking between minus 10 degrees and 3 to 4 degrees, in order to let the heavier particles going down. So this process allows the whiskey to becoming clearer and more brilliant, but on the other hand, the whiskey loses some kind of aromas. So there are certain producers that prefer to make it non-chill filtering, as in this case. Guys, here we are. Let's pass to the reviewing phase. So, as always, let's clean the glass we are gonna use to review a little bit. Okay, now the glass is ready, and for a gentle quantity. Okay. Well, first of all, color. Let's put it in front of a white lamp. Well, compared to many other whiskey, in this case the color is quite pale, quite light. I would say a pale gold. Let's see now how wide are the bows, the arches. Well, they are very close to each other, meaning a very low level of sugar, the natural sugar released by the fermentation phase. So we can move to the nose. Wow, guys, this is really balanced. First thing I can clearly smell is apricot, kind of ripe apricot, but also peach. Yes, peach and dried fig, I would say. But also kind of raspberry, and also I would say a blueberry. Despite the ABV power, I don't perceive an aggressive sensation at the nose. Very, very balanced, as I said before. There are no peat sensation at all. Actually, it is kind of sweet. I don't know how to say, guys, but it's like to smell like fruit cake, maybe an apple tart, I would say. There's a kind of mix between vanilla and also honey. In the final, I would say also plums and toffee. My congratulations, really harmonious at the nose. Let's have a taste. Let's clean the mouth a little bit. Wow, the power of alcohol is overwhelming at the beginning. It's powerful, but also kind of wrap around, and then it leaves space to what we smelled before. So I can perceive vanilla, but also after vanilla, a kind of green oak. By swallowing, you instantly perceive a kind of honey that leaves the place to a peculiar sensation, a spicy sensation, little hints of ginger, very peculiar. The sensation of fruit, of sweet, were more powerful at the nose and less perceivable into the mouth. There is practically no peat, I would say, or at least very feeble. The persistent is quite long and leaves a little hint of jujubes, I would say, very peculiar also in this case. Guys, this whiskey meets my taste. I appreciate it so much, and my judgment is 88 out of 100. I suggest you to buy one of these bottles and write me what did you feel, what did you perceive. You can find the bottle, I'm talking in Europe, of course, from online retailers at about 80 euros to 100, depending on the provider you use, but it's worth the price, guys. Guys, hope you enjoyed also this review, and let's see next time for another wonderful bottle I selected for you. Thank you.